Ah, 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 ah. Hi, hello, hello. おはようございます。こんばんは。おやすみ。俺は名前はFumiyo君。俺は最強妖怪よろしくお願いします。Hello, my name is Fumiyo kun, the best ghost, the only ghost that you need, and it is but a pleasure, but a good pleasure, to have you all here yet once more on a Friday, considering how tight everyone's schedule is. Hello, hello everyone, hello, 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 hi, 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 hi. Hello, local. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Soul. Oh, Pinky with a Y. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to for joining Purgatory. I hope you enjoy your blankets, your tea, and also complimentary poetry scriptures that you may use to your heart's content. No, I like doing voice cracks. So, hello, Pinky. Hello, local. Hello, Soul. Hello, I. You just woke up. I hope you slept well. So, it's another beautiful day for our lovely poetry day. What a way to say wake up. Alright, hello, how's an eye senpai? Hello. So, as you all know, today's Friday, and we have been working really hard recently. By we, I mean all of you. You've been working very hard, and I'm very proud of what you've done with all of your homework, with all your responsibilities, and everything that you've done leading up to today. So, on my behalf and your friends' behalf, thank you very much for all the hard work that you have been putting through. And it's time to rest, okay? So, do me a favor, would you? Would you please go and grab yourself a blanket, a cup of tea, or something to eat, something to relax to. I want you to get as comfy as you can. We've got some poems going for us today, and all that. Right. Hello, T. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you back again once more. Hope I get to relax you today again. So, my throat is a little bit more clogged, a little bit. The only reason as to why is because I literally just decided to down an entire bottle of Coke because why not? I have responsibilities. Yes, we all have responsibilities. Take off my headphones because I have no need for this since it's poetry day. So today's poetry selections are quite interesting. So a lot of people, when I make poetry, assume that I come with a theme in mind, which isn't usually the case. Sometimes I would love to come up with a theme, but usually themes just come up on their own. So today's theme might be a little bit worrying, not to you, but to me. A lot of you might decide to text me one day and be like, oh no, we had homework? We did, yes, we did. We had a lot of homework, and I'm happy for those who've done it. For those who haven't done it, please do it. I don't want to see you overwork yourself at night, okay? So, poems-wise, we have a total of 3 poems to 4, depending on how I'm feeling today. And then we have a chapter at the bottom of the description. Obviously, for those who are new, you need to know this, but at the bottom of the description, well, at the top of the description more like, there is a link to a Google Drive that you need to download if you would like, so that you can come with us and read the story along with me, or if you'd like, just tune me into your headphones as you fall asleep. Regardless, whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes you happy. Okay? So, poetry time. Yay! To be fair though, there's not that much that happened. I wrote these last minute. How last minute? I wrote these last night when I was sleep deprived and really hungry. Don't expect too much, though I feel like you all expect too much every time. Alright, here we go. So our selection of poetry today is 20 years, preacher, perception, and if I feel like it, antique and dually, which by the way isn't completed, but might as well. Fumiyo, can you write a poem about carbonara since you talk about it quite frequently? Sure. I'll think about something. You could use it as a promo ad now, can you? Well, let's start off very simple. We'll start off with the main theme of today's poem. It's basically the poem that was first written and solidified itself as the poem to create, well, theming. So, preacher. Here we go. What am I but a preacher, preaching for self-indulgence? My advice taken as a form of deceptive allegiance. Every word, regardless of its intent, seen as an absence of individual thought as my mind is seen as a collective. Not a shroud of self-worth to my name, not a droplet of depth to my fame. What use does a man have for inscriptions? What use does a man have for his continued subscriptions? I have no faith in what I preach, as I wonder if there are hearts where my words could ever reach. For no ornament purity of white and gold will ever revive these intoxicated thoughts that grew so old. Almighty gods of Traxia, heed my call, a sign I beg of you to remind me of the great wall, a wall etched in gold lettering, with every word defined as more than just a layering, a filter no less, but a stuffing of a mind. I beg of thee to guide me to the answers I desire to find. So that's our first poem. I will say though, this was our theming. This was the first poem that was written as a sequence of poems that we have. And I remember writing this and I was like, oh, it's going to be quite a preachy one. Amazing. Did you write that yourself? Yes, I do. I write these poems myself a day or 3 days in advance before stream. It's a little fun thing, a little fun, brain teaser. I like writing and I thought I could probably share with all of you as a way of entertainment, comfort, or perhaps maybe just, just like, hey, you think this way, I do as well, camaraderie. So yes, I do write these. So I think this one, the idea that I had in mind for this one at least, or what I was writing of and the imagery, I think I was thinking more of a man who's losing faith in something. Judging from the words of God, I'm assuming that I was thinking of a priest who's losing faith in what he's preaching in his sermons and all that. And I didn't know where I wanted to go with it, but I'm presuming it's just going to be him doubting, refinding as well who he is. But I don't know. You're a great composer. Thank you, you're too kind. Oh, you're too kind. So, that is our theming. Now, we have the worrying one. So this one is what caused me to want to change the theming of today's poetry, because I'm starting to feel like either someone will start crying, or perhaps people will start being worried about me. Now, a little bit of a prerequisite. I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't be worried about me. So, here we are. And 20 years, shall we? So, I'm only 20 years old, but I'm told to mature. It's only in this artificial calling can I ensure that a life where a clock has a value rather than a price. Wouldn't it be nice if my accomplishments could ever suffice? I have to prove my intelligence in the languages that I speak, and for once in a blue moon can my existence feel not this weak. I'm scared that in 50 years, all that I'll leave behind are a couple of dollars and a bottle of rum that you could find. I'm scared that in 50 years, all that I'll leave behind is a perfect example of what it means to have a healthy mind, only to be ridiculed for being weak and blind, and then blame it on the coffee for my health decline, not knowing that I did it just so that I won't be left behind. Little did these analysts know of the catalyst that changed me. I used to see the sky as freedom, now as an escape to me. I'm jealous of the planes and the birds who get to see a world beyond these fences that cover my vision. This begs the question, who made this suggestion? Who made these barriers between our indecision and our decision? When did school, the leading cause of innovation, turn into a slaughterhouse for children's imagination? Because in 50 years, these words you will laugh at. No denying it, I very much guarantee it as a fact. I'm 1 in 8 billion. What do I have to do to create an impact? For God's sake, I'm only 20 years old, and to happiness I don't know how to react. There you go. 20 years. A bit of explanation this might be needed as to why we went such a lane. Of all the things I could have spoken of, why I went to this lane. So, for those who have watched Eurovision 2020, you know that Italy's representative was Måneskin, and they came in with the song Siete Buoni, and it was really good, it was really lovely. So I checked out their music, and they had a song called 20 anni, which is basically translates to 20 years old, and it talks about how this man is like 20 years old and he's already confused about what to do and how to do life and how it is. And I think I was listening to the song a bit too much, so I sort of just blended it into something. I was going to go, please send that on and turn it into a song. It's probably going to be like, you know, like either like once I was 7 years old, sort of tune to it, or maybe perhaps it could be like a rap song. Because I think this could be a song. Who knows? Bro, that's such a mood. It's called Existential Dread. It could be true. But hey, no, Existential Dread in my lovely little stream. I want all of us to be, quiet. Be silent and just be comfortable, please. Alright. Our next one, perception. Jesus fucking Christ, I just realised how much existential dread I'm giving all of you today. Sorry, by the way. I'm so sorry. So next one, perception. Perception. I wrote this one this morning. I woke up, I had a cup of tea, listened to operatic music, and then I made this. So I think it was a bit too pretentious for this one. Who knows? This is definitely an r/I'm 14 and this is deep. Fumiyo Jacksepticeye now has his own tea brand. Oh, I'm going to try that and I'll review it and I'll see if it's good or not. Want all of us to be existentially dreadful. Oh god, no please. Alright. Excuse me. Define the word perception. It's to perceive the truth, yet we use it for deception. It is used for uncovering what cannot be seen according to its description, but rather than that we use it for miscommunication. Perception is fueled by information and what we believe, and what we believe could be the works of misinformants who deceive. Unwillingly or consciously, they spread truth to them but lies to us, until the telephone that kept ringing turns to rust. How many more men and women have we lost to time? How many marketing strategies have we believed as a crime? How many adverts have we assumed to be part of a culture? Is nothing more than the famished beaks of a vulture. Perception is weak in a world where curiosity and intelligence is needed to thrive. Bravery and a calling for gossip perhaps is what's needed to survive. There you go. I love existential dread. I think it wouldn't, pair well with tea. Tea pairs well with jam, biscuits, and cookies. It don't pair well with, existential dread. It has a bit of a sour flavour to a rather sweet tea. Lol, cosmic nihilism. Yeah, let's send ourselves rolling to everything. Perception. I think for this one, my thought process for this one, I think, again, this is me thinking with you. I think for this one, I was sort of like thinking about how we see things, sort of. Why? I was like, I could look at someone and I'd think they're the kindest person in the world, but someone could look at this very same person and go, they're really, really horrible, aren't they? Even though we were fed the same information, perhaps, maybe not. And I was like, I could write something about that. And I did, but not really well thought out now, have I? It just feels like a lot of verbal manure on a much more, decadent stature rather than really keeping it the way that it is. But, regardless, bro, this is literature. It's me absolutely creaming the short. That's a really lively one, despite peering back the masquerade. We love British Fumiyo tea, biscuit and jam. Oh god. The biscuits and jam are nice though, I like that. Put a bit of biscuits, I put a bit of jam on a couple of biscuit rolls. That'd be great with cucumber sandwiches. Oh, you have a great afternoon tea. Really good afternoon tea. I recommend it. Our next poem for the day, before we start continuing our reading, keep in mind that I'm kind of speeding through our poetry for today a little bit, because if I don't speed through it, we might have a bit of an issue, because I have completely underestimated how long chapter 12 will be, which is the chapter that we have today. Heads up, we only will be reading one chapter today. It's chapter 12 of the book, and chapter 12 is 43 pages long. I do not know what I was thinking while writing that. Whatever it is, I'm so sorry. Well, what kind of jam do you put on your biscuits? Strawberry jam or lemon curd? Love those two. Alright, so here we are. We'll go through my poems one more time. I have written quite a few, so we'll see. Cucumber sandwiches. Yes, cucumber sandwiches. They're lovely. Have you never had cucumber sandwiches? They're so good. Good pairing with tea, by the way. What, have you... Wait. Did no one here ever have cucumber sandwiches? Is this like a foreign entity? I mean, literal faucet. I'm a literal faucet. Alright, so our thing. Oh god, okay, where are we going here? I just lost that poem. Alright, let's let's find something that is not too thing. What's it called? Soul Fumi oozes faucets. 43 pages that much you'll have read 50 in an hours. Don't worry, I'll be reading it for you, so do relax. Just grab yourself something to drink. Okay. Okay. God damn, where are we? I've somehow landed us in poem zone of 600 words. 600 words worth of poems are not just that. They're really, really big. Okay. Where are we? Where the hell have I landed myself in? I think I put myself in Narnia, but not the good kind. Yes, cucumber sandwiches are a very non-US thing. But they're lovely though. I like cucumber sandwiches. They're brilliant. Okay, we are going to do what the hell is this? Oh good god. Okay. Okay, so this is not a per se, this won't be a poem. This will be rather more of a ranty paragraph that I wrote. I think I was having a large amount of existential dread for this one. Worryingly so, might I add. Worryingly so. But it's alright. It's alright. You know, nothing to worry too much about. So here we are. This is called overstimulation. So let's go. But I don't think they feel the way that I do. They don't see the world the way that I do. They don't smell the world like I do. They don't feel the wind brushing through the fields of green grass, stretching to the far wide corners of my eye. I feel the flowers blooming, admiring every second of its growth, patiently like a mother with her newborn child. The birds that chirp and fly through the sky prove that the world is alive. The ant in the ecosystem accompanied by it proves the ground is alive. The sea with its roaring tides and speeds, with fishes running alongside it like the flow of time, with us running after it, but unlike those beautiful sea creatures. I feel like I can't catch up with time. The fish in the coral life proves that the world is alive. This feeling of creation, birth and growth sends me to a panic attack. Not one out of fear, but one out of overwhelming stimulation. One that sends shivers and blood through my veins. But at last I feel that blood coursing through my veins, making itself known to me, as if to protest that they too are alive, as much as these creatures are. Is my denial of their existence a right that I possess, or am I simply trying to justify my insanity? Because I sometimes don't feel alive, not in the same sense that you feel. I don't feel the need or the urge to start a life and study and work myself until my bones prove to me that they too were alive. My interpretation of this feeling would be easier understood if it were compared to art. Have you ever walked in an art gallery and viewed the art pieces on display? The many paintings from painters and sculptures from sculptures. These creations evoke a certain emotion within you, a sense of dread or perhaps a sense of loneliness, be it colours emitting joy, but through the blending and the bending of the angles and the proportions, these strokes now resemble the worldview of an artist. The painting to you, with its carefully curated composition, makes you feel lonely. The sound of music as the musician plays and sings their song. Every breath, every note played by them makes you feel a certain way. Happy tunes sung with haunting voices and sad songs made to be hopeful. It's this feeling right here is my definition of being alive. The world as I see it is constantly evolving. An ever-changing art piece, one that I have experienced a million times and over, but amazed by it a million times and over as well. No matter how many times I see these cities and how many people I see on the streets, I still will never feel the same about them. The way that their clothes today blend into the foreground, the way that their hair with the style that they picked highlighted their features, a feature otherwise left unnoticed if not for the change, but I saw it before it happened today. With every blink I feel the world changing, a different artist or painter painting the next scene to this gorgeous yet terrifying piece. An art piece that will make you hate it but love it at the same time. Art styles changing, the ambience changing with it as well. Everything changes, everything continues to change, and it never ends. It makes me scared. It throws me into stress. How could the world change so quickly? How could it be so beautiful but cruel to me, even when I'm its biggest admirer? Questions and questions pile up, shouting louder and louder into my ears like ghosts of previous admirers telling me to appreciate the world quickly before it's gone. These thoughts I fear to call ghosts urge me to see the world more. They point out the details people don't see and harass me whenever I choose to avert my eyes. The scenery burns into my eyes as they force me to experience it over and over at the comfort of my own room. I feel their fingers dance and tiptoe through my shoulders, forcing their perception into my eyes. It sometimes feels like I don't have a say in what I think or what I feel. My sanity decreases with every waking day, as I fear for one day this beauty will be the cause of my insanity. A beauty that with every detail that I take in reminds me of the fear that I have. It hinders my enjoyment of this world and the experiences I wish I could have with the world, and the many sensations I could have had with it. Perhaps life isn't meant to be enjoyed the way that I do. It's too beautiful and complicated for one person to enjoy it all. There we go. Well then, that's a thing. Well, you could make a ranty poem and it could still be good. This is called overstimulation. Ha ha ha, 5-year-old brain go brp. Early morning, let's go. Hello, Sarah, welcome. Good morning, good morning. Did you have something to eat yet? Drink some water? If you haven't had some water, please drink some water. Good cup of water is a great way to start your morning. Trust me. I would know. In fact, I'll drink water with you. That's good. Oh, I love that one. Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Right. So, not as of yet. Okay. Well, drink some water then. So, as we are seeing right now, this is something that I wrote because I felt, I don't know how to call it. It's not really overstimulation. It's more accurately, yeah, man high off LSD once girlfriend is lonely. Yeah, basically. Yeah, that sounds about right. Just water tonight. Yes, just water tonight because I already had 2 cups of tea, and I feel like I'm going to run out of tea if I continue it, because I literally have 3 more tea bags, and I would like to buy more, but I'm too lazy to go outside. So I'm going to have to be very, very much so reluctant to do so. So I'm just going to be content with what I have, which is a cup of water. I could make some gunpowder tea, gunpowder green tea, but I don't think I have the time. Hi, Brian. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Good morning, good night, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for joining again. Oh, sorry. I'm about to burp. Y or E? Y or E? What do you mean, Y or E? What's Y or E? Boss, I have something important to show you. Please check the DMs if you have time. Right. I think I know what it is. Oh my god, I know what it is. I definitely know what this is. I'm going to let that for later, because I don't... tea sounds great. Tea always sounds great. The problem is I have too much tea blends in my room. Before we start story time, let me rant about this. So in my house, I have a cupboard all to myself. The reason why I do have this cupboard all to myself is because it's called basically gunpowder tea, and I also have like intenso tea, coffee, which is basically Italian coffee that's really, really intense. There's also a lot, and I mean a lot of tea. I have like Earl Grey tea, I have green tea, I have some red tea, some black teas, some tropical teas and everything. I have quite a lot of what it is. Sounds like porn, and no, it isn't. It's my masterpiece. I'll look into your masterpiece later. It's morning for me. Ah, okay. Good morning then, Brian. Good morning. Oh, come on, Floof. You know more than anyone else to not ruin the sanctity of Poem Day. Poem Day is supposed to be, sacred. No swearing, no large memeing, only memeing in poetry. Only meme in poetry, please. Don't meme in loud noises. Excuse you. cupboard full of blends. Yes, I have a cupboard full of blends. Earl Grey, green tea, red teas, black teas, tropical teas, jasmine teas, all sorts of green teas. I have a large teapot filled with miscellaneous tea bags from friends and family. When I feel indecisive, I just reach my hand and see what I get. True. What is gunpowder tea? Gunpowder tea is basically green tea, and I think the reason why it's called gunpowder tea is because it's very pungent. It has a really strong smell. Really, really small. Very pungent. And I think that's why it's called that. You are my friend. I fucking love her. Oh, my days. Alright, so we have finally warmed ourselves up completely. And now it's time for story time. So, for those who are first-time joiners here, who are either lurking or are texting, but regardless, I would like to still remind everyone. In the top of the description of this live stream, there is a link to a Google Drive that I would like you to go to, if you don't mind, please. It's going to be a singular chapter of my book, and it is going to be read to you by me. If you choose to read it with me, alongside me, that is, if you want to see what the text is, or if you also would like, just read it at your own time later, and perhaps if you also like, you could just not download it, tune me into your headphones, and I will just read it to you as you fall asleep, regardless of what you choose, as long as it comforts you. Alright? So I'll give you guys about a minute or two to download it. I'll have to download it myself, because I don't want to over-read. So we're going to have to do that real quick. Let me see. Description. Grab Google Drive. Not green tea now. Green tea is fantastic. Love green tea. Green tea is a pampering tea. Green tea for me is a morning tea. It's a sort of green tea that I drink for the morning. It's also a pampering tea. But Earl Grey for me is an enjoyment tea. It's a sort of tea that I drink when I want to enjoy something. So it's when I enjoy like an entree of cucumbers, biscuits, jam, and all those sorts of those things. So we're going to download this real quick. Chapter 12. Brilliant. I hope I downloaded that proper. There we go. Locate file. If you don't mind. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Floof, that was great. I like the appearance of Clarity Font. Good heavens. I will look into that. Alright, so is everybody ready for our story time? Do I like mint tea? Yes, I do. Mint cinnamon tea is fantastic. I recommend, if anyone hasn't tried a mint tea with cinnamon, you love it. Man, the Brit is strong with this one. Heavens now. Right, so I hope all of you are going to already have your thing. I'm going to start by reading chapter number 12, The Endless Library. So for those who are unaware, we have ended chapter with Mallory walking outside of his school, outside of the theatre, as he goes to the library to get more books because he hoarded quite a bit of it. I usually prefer an English tea in the morning. Yes, English breakfast tea is good. I do like it, but I like the feeling that I get from green tea. But good choice, regardless, good choice. Alright, it's time to go. Here we are. Yep, absolute silence, everybody. Do behave. And as well, do relax. Okay? Thank you. Alright. Chapter number 12, The Endless Library. Okay, some water for this one. Mallory and Kai stepped foot into a building that had little to no people inside of it. To the left of the boy was a large desk extending at the very end of what seemed like a small room. The desk occupied, well, mostly 25% of the room, while the rest was mostly floor space. Very compact was the first thought that came into the boy's head, housing only 2 chairs to his right positioned side by side of each other, separated by a coffee table. Underneath them was a red carpet, with jagged edges, yet it had some sense of esteem, even in its age. Mallory looks around even further, spotting 5 circular clocks on the middle of the wall in front of them. Below those sets of clocks were 5 doors separated only by what seemed like 3 inches of space. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" "How may I help you?" said the man behind the desk. He was taller than any man Mallory has ever seen. Granted, he has only seen a couple of men and women. Dressed as sharp as one can be in his suit, ironed out almost like weapons. He wore glasses resting on the bridge of his nose, with some sort of beaded chains preventing it from falling. Though clad in a suit, the man wore a black apron on top with a large pouch for storage. "Good to you too, I hope. We would like to purchase some books." The boy over here devoured my collection, said Kaya. "Is your child perhaps a philanthromat?" "I deeply apologize, but our policy allows no creatures inside the library," said the man. "I did not mean devour in the literal sense. Why would anyone domesticate such a thing? He reads all of them, that's what I meant," Kai said with a sigh. "Oh, how rude of you. How rude of me. I do apologize yet again. I am simply trying to protect my establishment from any possible harm it may face after all." The man looks at the boy with a cynical look. "We don't want any philomats robbing us of knowledge. Isn't that right, my boy?" Mallory hides behind Kai's coat, only having his fingers sticking out. He wasn't frightened. He did not know what to say in response to the man. The man looks back from Mallory, turning back to his clerk-like expression. He crouches down to reach for something underneath his desk. Standing up, he places a wooden box onto the desk and a single circular magnifying lens to his right eye. "I am ready when you are, sir. What possession will you use as a currency for today?" the man said. "I'll be using funds," Kai said. The clerk frowns upon hearing those words. "With all due respect, sir, but funds have gone out of fashion. If you want to purchase any number of books of mine, I require an item of sentimental value with a rarity of at least 3 years, said the clerk. Kai places the bag he was carrying onto the wooden box. Within seconds, fear and excitement came upon the clerk, putting his face near it and inspecting it with his magnifying glass. "By the mercy of our sanity! How have you come to own such a thing?" said the clerk. "I believe this is enough," Kai said. Excuse me. Eyes wide open, the clerk at a higher volume than ever before said, "Enough! So this is enough to buy the entire library. I am forced to comply if that is your wish." "I desire no such thing. I don't have many hands full. I just want a couple of books. After that, me and the boy are off to our own way." "Please, have many as books as you please." The man then covered the box with a lid. He sealed it off as best as he can. As he was about to lift the box, the clerk remembered his formalities were not yet over. The clerk places the box down again before he spoke once more. He gently coughs, covering his mouth with a chuckle. "Which one of you ought to traverse the library? I presume it's going to be the young fellow," said the clerk. "Yes, that will be me," said Kai. "My assistant shall aid you with the preparations. Please stay seated as I call for her. Any further inquiries shall be taken by her," said the clerk. With steps ever so gentle yet ever so quick, he disappears from view into the back rooms. Mallory takes a seat, while Kai remains on his own 2 feet. Curiosity taking the best of him, he probes Kai with a question. "Can I come as well?" said Mallory. "No, it's too dangerous," said Kai. "What do you mean? There's nothing but books there. The only danger there pose are paper cuts," said Mallory jokingly. "This is not just any library, Mallory. The books you've read should have fed you enough information to understand such a thing," said Kai. Mallory was aware of what was in this library, truly is, but as to the properties that make it unusual are to him a mystery. In a book he read a long time ago, libraries and other sources of or outlets of knowledge were burnt. Considered sins to man, they were thrashed for a far better source of knowledge. The reliance on word of mouth and memorization, they became the common medium of transport of said knowledge. The worshippers of the pit, desperate for their gods, aligned themselves with lesser beings. They're not to be worshipped, but are to be acknowledged as far as being superior to man. A bargain made to gain knowledge, the lesser beings brought with them structures housing paradoxes, and this library is the first and most well-known of those paradoxes. With these structures, those who worshipped the gods and the inhabitants of Arusa benefited greatly from them, but there are those who still, till this day, hated the idea of aligning with such creatures. A fragile girl with hair that also seems to resemble flame approaches them. She wore a button-up white shirt accompanied by that familiar black apron. Judging by her appearance that radiated an unprofessional air, she seemed more like an apprentice, or in this case, the assistant of the clerk. With her, she carried a similar box to the one that the clerk had in hand, padded with white cloth rather than the black one the previous box had. Inside of it was a compass and a watch. "Please take the items in the box and place your items that you would rather not be harmed into it," she said with a stiff voice. Mallory found it funny, letting out a gentle little laugh. The assistant takes note of this, but carries on with her formalities regardless. Kai picks up the compass and the watch, but they seemed rather different than those that were on the pictures Mallory was so used to seeing. The compass was a transparent cube with 10 different arrows. The commonly used directions and their combined efforts exist, but 2 new arrows were added onto the gadget. The watch too was peculiar in design, maintaining the same framework as any other watch, with only startling difference being that the watch contained 5 different smaller clocks inside of it. Kai placed his knife and the necklace into the box, closing the lid himself. Confirming that these are the only items to be stowed, the assistant placed the box on top of the desk. To the left of Kai, Mallory sat there, observing him enter the library. Kai turned around to face Mallory. "Don't run off out of this building under any circumstance and behave yourself," said Kai. "I will," said Mallory obediently. With that, Kai entered the room to the far right. Doubting his own vision, Mallory wonders if there was darkness within those doors, yet he failed to see anything beyond that darkness. He tried to peer in more by leaning forward, but Kai was too quick to shut the door. Mallory, knowing not what to do, begins to wonder what sort of games can he play to pass the time. He thought of asking the girl a copious amount of questions about the library, but he feared that she may tell on him when Kai returns from the library. Luckily for him, it seemed like the assistant had plans already set for them both. With the echoing of the door's silence, she came closer to Mallory and sat next to him with her legs crossed. On closer inspection, she had little details all over her face. She had freckles running across from her cheeks and onto her skin as pale as him, yet eyes greener than any green he has ever seen or has ever read about. Her hair was not only aflame, the orangish red hair had black mixed into it, the hair proving highlights, but sometimes proving to consume more than just that. It was fairly long in terms of length, considering her hair being able to touch her elbows. "Are you accompanying that gentleman?" said the girl. "Yes. Why do you ask?" Mallory said. "It's not every day that you see a man walk around with an Insight Seal token. Even my father, who lives long, is old enough to understand that it's significant," she said. "Does it clerk your father?" Mallory said. "No, he's the only family I've got. He's pleased when I call him father, though I am related to him not of blood," said the girl to Mallory. It sounded like she sounded like what she said required her to speak with a sad tone, but she spoke in a carefree, bright tone. She later continued, "Insight Seal tokens are limited in number. They are priceless and far more valuable than any sentimental item. After all, there are miniature prisons containing only the smartest of men. The Insight Seal token is an artifact created for the sole purpose of imprisonment. Inside of it is a prisoner whose curiosity consumed them. They provide great knowledge no man dreams of ever discovering." Need some water? The men in these prisons are not of human descent. They're rebellious gods, mad gods, or even lesser gods. All goes quiet for story time. Yeah, indeed. I want you all to relax. Please, everyone, I want you all to relax. This is the point of this stream. Relaxation. And I need socks. It's too cold. Oh, God. Got my socks. Sorry. And also, shish. Shh. Be quiet. Just rest. If you can't rest properly, shish. Sorry. See to put on my socks, getting cold. And the air conditioner a bit high. Okay, here we are. Back to being quiet, everyone. Be good. Be nice. Keep your manners. So, the men in these prisons are not of human descent. They're rebellious gods, mad gods, or lesser gods damned by the gods of Arusa as a punishment for their actions. Soon after the fall of the gods, man innovated, allowing them to harness the knowledge inside, and so much knowledge was inside of them, more than you could ever need. The girls turned her entire body over to Mallory, leaning in forward to get a closer look at him. "Are you a lord? A man of great power? What exactly are you to have such a valuable thing as that?" said the girl. "Truthfully, I don't know what I am. This is my first time out here," said Mallory. "First time in a library is a wonderful feeling, too. But too bad he didn't let you in," said the girl. "No, this is my first time outside in general. But what sort of danger is there?" "He told me that it was very dangerous," said Mallory. "A sheltered aristocrat, I take it. As for your other question, I don't have any answer that will please you," said the girl confidently. "Aren't you a tenant of this place?" "Surely you have some knowledge," Mallory said. Knowledge as to danger? No, but knowledge as to the man not allowing you in? That I may know of, said the girl. She began detailing events long before the many attempts of corporations, companies, and greed to monetize the library, only to find out that it was more than anyone could ever handle. Many libraries were erected in rebellion against it, but in the end, the possibility of one book being present in the library allured many of its finest patriots. What makes it up for in bountiful knowledge, its downfall became ever so clear. The library had no end, had no beginning. The doors act as portals, placing you in random points in the library. You could walk for days, but you will never really find the end. The library simply never ends. That's amazing, Mallory said, with a glee in his eyes. He only heard of such places in stories. The girl chuckled. You really are an interesting one. Say, you have been avoiding my question an awful amount of times. Who are you? Oh, sorry. My name is Mallory. I come from the Moon Crescent Theatre, and that man is named Kai. As to who he is and what he is, that I know little of, said Mallory. Pleasure meeting you. My name is Lilith. I am the assistant of the library and also the daughter of the library clerk, she said, stretching out her hand. Mallory reaches for it to shake her hand, only to be pulled closer to her lips, into his ears, and she whispered, I wonder what they will do to you when they find you, Mallory. Will they do with you as they did with Alex? Or will you fall in the hands of the Fredericks? Mallory recalls back. How do you know Alex? Mallory said. I used to be an actor alongside him. We were partners in every play. He even gave me his coat and a doll gift, she said. She smiled as she remembered his name, but a sense of ice could be seen lined within her smile. She spoke of sweetness and kindness, praising him for what he did for her, but it all seemed fabricated to me. Mallory, knowing that she knew Alex, made his nerves eased just a little bit further. Up until this time, he was never left alone with a stranger before. He thought that he would have said something he shouldn't have. But as time went by, he wondered as to why Kai took so long. His conversations with Lilith was beyond entertaining, but the curiosity of the library was far too overwhelming for Mallory to contain. He attempted to shake it off, but how could one resist exploring, let alone asking what this library contains and what it has to offer? Surely it was more than just a library. Wondering how long Kai has been in the library, Mallory looked over to the clocks on the wall. He tried reading the clock, but he had no knowledge of how to use it. How do you read time? Mallory said. Are you perhaps a user of polar time? Said Lilith. I'm not sure. I never had the need to read time before. I never seen such a mechanism as this before either, Mallory said. 5 circular clocks had only 9 hours on them, while others had the full 24 hours. Furthermore, there were clocks with 3 arms and some with only 1. That's strange. 2 polar time was widely used all over here in Narusa, said Lilith, as Mallory attempted to remember if those kinds of clocks existed in the theatre, but as far as his knowledge can carry him, no such things were present. Singular 24-hour base clocks only exist. Perhaps such inventions are present somewhere else. No, I haven't seen any, I'm afraid, Mallory said. Okay, without getting technical, the clocks have a randomized pattern. Once the day ends, the position of each of the clocks are moved. The middle number signifies the time at which a day ends. Some days might be 9 hours, some days might be 30. Who knows what combination they could be in, said Lilith. You follow the clock corresponding to the day of the week then, said Mallory. Precisely. We read it as a normal clock. For the sake of reference, the 2 of you have arrived here at 3 in the afternoon, said Lilith. Mallory's fingers was pointed at the clock as he tries to count how long he's been waiting. According to the clock, he's been here for almost 4 hours. What? 4 hours have passed with no signs of Kai returning. Sorry. Mallory started to worry, not for him, but for himself. How can one contain the urge to pursue such a wondrous view that are outside of his library? Tales of this library to prove to be a challenge for him as well, as trying to ask less and less about the library, only to be brought back to it out of curiosity. Questions continued to rise in his head, fantasies or fascinations of what lies beyond one of these doors. He could not help himself but wonder, why can such a thing exist like this? Though explained by Lilith that it's a paradox not meant to exist, he still yearns for an explanation not grounded in logic or science, but instead governed by laws that are otherworldly. For as old as he is, he's simply just a boy with a taste for knowledge, and the price he has to pay for it is none of his own concern. To him, this is his first adventure, one of many. He felt like an outsider to the world, observing it from the inside. It's the same feeling you get when you look at a miniature reconstruction of a landscape. Finally being able to experience it in its intended size, he knows he must obey Kai or else he will get an earful, but all of it seems worth it when he thinks of the possibilities. "You want to go inside?" said Lilith. "May I?" asked Mallory. He could not hide the smile on his face. Perhaps Lilith could not sense it, or Mallory was unable to control his facial expressions. Lilith got back up from her chair to reach in for something behind the desk. Rather than the same box she provided Kai, she gave Mallory a rope. Give me a second. I just need to drink water again. Oh, it's going to be a long day, isn't it? Alright. So, may I? And then, okay, there we go. And a rope. "Tie this around your waist," said Lilith. Mallory held the rope in his hand, wondering what to do next. He knows nothing of the word she used. He knows of the word, but does not know how to execute it. "Sorry, am I unfamiliar with this concept?" "Sorry, I am unfamiliar with this concept," said Mallory. Lilith frowns and grabbed the rope off of Mallory's hand. While tying up the rope around his waist, Lilith addressed her opinion on Mallory about his inability to tie a rope. "Women don't like men who can't tie a rope," said Lilith. "I think little of women, if anything. I think most of them not really." The rope tightly tied, she pats his waist. "Having no interest in women, perhaps men," said Lilith. "I have interest in neither," said Mallory. "Why is that?" "I, for one, would think you would be someone's muse," said Lilith. "No such offers were made before," said Mallory. Lilith runs the back of her fingernails against Mallory's lips, lining it with her touch thoroughly. "How about me, then?" "It need not be of gold. Silver shall suffice." She places her finger in between his lips and her lips, and then continues. "It's not every day that you find a party that carries a token with them. I wonder what else you may carry in their private residence," she said. "Are you a whore prostituting for assets?" said Mallory. He did not know what those words meant. Kai taught him those words and told him to recite it to any woman who wonders about where he lives or if she ever offers herself up. "How rude of you to call a lady who offers herself to you a whore. Never mind your inability to tie a rope, but this lack of sense towards humour now. This is just saddening." Mallory faced again with another concept he does not understand. He pressed her with a question. "What is humour?" said Lilith. "Humour is something funny, a tickle in your soul made by words or actions, be it humour at the expense of others or yourself." Mallory thinks to himself, what sort of feeling is funny? She said tickle, but how can words tickle a man's heart? He is odd to research this on a later date as soon as they return. Lilith moves towards the doors, with Mallory following her, being a step behind. In front of them are 5 different doors. Each door is no different from the other, except for their respectful place in the building. Brown plain doors with 2 squares carved into the upper half of the door and a rectangular one below them. A handle coated in gold on the right side of each of the doors. They approached the door at the far right, the very same door Kai went through. Liz then gave Mallory instructions. "Once you're in there, you are allowed to do as you please. Read to your heart's content if you must, but never open a book if you ever are in the literature section." Literature section. "Once you find your companion, tug on the rope you are wearing. That will bring you back to here," said Lilith. Mallory nods in agreement, asking no further questions, not due to his complete understanding, but rather he is clouded by the many other questions that he deemed more important. He placed his hand onto the handle, twisted it, and the door opens. He closes his eyes and holds his breath as he enters. He takes slow, cautious steps forward, slowly feeling the ground beneath his feet. After many steps, he opens his eyes to the endless library. A place he imagined through and through with his conversations with Lilith, but none of her descriptions could ever rival the sheer size and beauty the place had. Hold on. We're getting McDonald's. What? Ah, yes, of course. I hate that I actually know Mallory Dollar, and you missed the stream where he did some meals. Oh my god. Yeah, dollars and oh my god. Quiet chat, relax. Told you. Shh. Come on. Where are your manners? Sorry. Yeah. Now here's the description there in this library. Tall, almost colossal in size, are the bookshelves stretching out far and high, with no ceiling in sight. The height of the shelves, like an unmanaged plant, has overgrown its pot. Shelves made out of dark brown wood, polished deeply as to reflect those who admire it, almost as if they are layered with glazed coating. Above them, amidst the tall shelves, were other smaller shelves, either floating or firmly placed against the wall, with no staircase or ladders. One could ever imagine that the books of that height are reserved to winged creatures, or perhaps those with gears that could climb such heights. The shelves on the ground stretched for miles and miles, with gaps in between them to allow passage to the other side, without the need to climb and or make it to the end of a library that has none. No shelf was left empty, occupied by books of all colours, sizes, length, and number of pages. The materials of those books were not only leather, but some made out of paper, thin cardboard. Mallory's mouth was slightly opened in awe as he slowly explored the library, twirling while moving forward to absorb the scenery around him, but no matter how long time has passed, he could never get over its beauty. When he looked beneath or underneath him, he saw that the floor was made out of also books as well. They're covered with glass layer as to not step on the books themselves directly. Every 7 inches, a small little handle is made to lift up a tile to allow whoever wanted to read those books. Running his fingers across from shelf to shelf, you could feel differently textured books, books of leather, books made out of cloth, textures that leave behind residue on your tips, as well as books with rough, almost sandpaper-like textures. Some of those books have their titles written with a form of embroidery. Some had it inked on whole, others were just nameless, even down to the spine of the book. The styles of their construction was limited not to a singular time period, with books hyper-stylized with contemporary design in mind. They were told of many tales, some of them being fairies and fantasy, while others were of mystery and betrayal. Certain books were not restricted into stories, but instead provided information about the world of Verusa and the world beyond. I already knew his knowledge was nothing compared to an inhabitant of the city, or whomever was younger than him, but with these books in front of him, he could not help but feel as if what he knows is nothing compared to the authors of these books. He continues to walk at a steady pace, not too quick as to be unable to read the letters, but not too slowly as to look at a book and read the author's name. Eyes finally interested, he grabbed a book off of the shelf to read. After all, he is here, might as well read to his heart's desire. The book was about places outside of the city of Verusa. It spoke of grass and snow. It spoke of sky so blue one could mistake it for the sun. Advertisement not limited to letters but pictures are to be included of real people. The book named certain places such as the village of Pinecrest, the unruled forest of the Pale Child, and many more. Hold on, I need to drink some water. I'm going to go through all these bottles. Konnichiwa, Fatima. Hello, Fafa, welcome to the stream. We are reading. We're currently reading, so shh. Be quiet, okay? Shh. Mallory had no frame of reference of what the book described, but the idea of something he hasn't seen excites him. He decides to bring the book along with him on his journey, in case he got bored or would like to take it out with him. He wanted to go there with Kai and the old man, Mallory thought to himself. The thought of visiting a forest and meeting a king captivated him. He wonders of what royalty it is, and if he could ever be a king himself. He walked and continued to do so much longer. He hadn't realized it yet, but he walked for longer than he should, longer than one was permitted to, covering distance no one would ever cover in the small amount of time that he had, but due to his curiosity, it carried him further than anyone has ever gotten. Mallory, who showed no sign of stopping, continued exploring more of the library, wondering why would anyone be scared of being inside of this beautiful place. The longer he stayed, the more he admired not just the books, but the design that went into it. The ceiling, which he has not yet, at least be taller. The entire city, if it were not to be horizontal. He felt at home. The more he spent here, he enjoyed the company of many of these books. Something about the smell of the leather, peaceful wilderness atmosphere lent itself to Mallory as a place of total harmony. He wanted to stay here forever, surrounded by the very friends he has made growing up. What is there to return to, he wondered. Only a select few of the books Kai picked out for him would be present. Other than that, the books he desired and wanted to read are all locked away in this place. You couldn't find Kai, and that he might be due to him not looking for him to begin with. His priority was not Kai, but to entertain himself. Once he found Kai, all of the pent-up questions he had will be left unanswered. Through his journey, Mallory found himself in a different section of the library. He made his assumption based on the fact that the interior has changed significantly. The bookshelf grew shorter. The wood lost the saturation it once had, turning pale. Unlike the previous area he was in, this section was linear and had no gaps in between the shelves. A straight line with no end in sight. The number of books, on the other hand, did not change, with shelves piling up on top of each other or laying on their back. Wooden ladders everywhere made it easier for someone to climb and grab the book that they wanted. The ladders did not just go up, they went across as well as acting as bridges from one bookshelf to another. Mallory was not fazed by the sudden change and continued to his walk. He realized that the floor beneath his feet were made out of cobblestone. Is it more water? God, I'm very thirsty today. What's with that ominous creaking door? Oh, sorry. I moved my seat a little bit back, so I hit my keyboard, hence the creaking. This thing? Yeah, that's my keyboard. I moved a little bit back, a little too further back. Sorry. Here we are. So, between the blocks of cobblestone were green patches of grass, some sprouts of flowers who have not yet taken form, struggling to support their own weight. They looked as if they were hunched over, like a man who gave up for what he was fighting for. Mallory, not knowing where to look, alternated his gaze from the floor to the books. He felt glad that he was walking on cobblestone rather than the glass layer. He knew the books won't be hurt by his feet, however, he still felt bad. From the corner of his eyes, noticed a small figure walking along one of the shelves. The figure was not shared of being seen. Alright. It jumped from one shelf to the other, as if it were to display the boy's abilities it had. Light on its feet, it made no sound when coming into contact with its landing spot. It stood proud with its back arched upwards, looking down on Mallory from one of the ladders above. What was this creature? Mallory asked himself. He never saw such a thing before. It barely had an appearance, considering how its entire being was transparent, lacking in opacity. You could see through it. It had no organs to block the view. It displayed whatever was behind it in a cloudy white tint. The strange creature fixated its eyes on Mallory and opened its mouth to create a sound that piques Mallory's interest. The sound it made was meow, said the creature. Oh god. So, here we go. Mallory, like a kid seeing his favourite toy on display in a market shop, came in closer to try to take a better look at his feline creature. Except like all things, the creature fled away, and at rapid pace from Mallory. Okay. The boy, still intrigued by it, followed it with its own 2 feet. He did not know much of it and wanted to. He used the same excuse to justify this action, the excuse being that once he is to return to the theatre, he may not speak of and ask of anything anymore. The creature, on all fours, ran faster than the boy. From the way it looked, for every stride the creature took, the floor behind it was pushed back, adding more distance between the two of them. The twos appeared never meet eye to eye again. Oh. Sorry. Oh, I'm burping. Other than being curious, the boy lacked the concept of fear, which, well, oh, sorry. I missed a paragraph. The incredible speeds of the creature and its ability to jump from one shelf to the other with ease made it harder and harder for the boy to catch up. His only paths were the linear halls of the books, or if he is to be brave, the ladders around him. Okay. Other than being curious, the boy lacked the concept of fear, which up until now would have been problematic. But in this situation, his inability to understand it made itself an advantage for him, as he took it upon himself to catch the feline creature. Climbing to the top of the ladder from the ground, he made it up to one of the shelves. Trying to maintain his balance was not an issue, as the shelves were thick and made for nice platforming across and between the shelves. One would assume that the creature has gotten away by now, but it had stopped moving as it looked at the boy climbing the ladder. Did it admire his efforts, or did it want to brag with its sheer speed and agility? The boy, returning to his running form, chased after the creature once more, and so did the creature. The two of them ran across and over shelves. Mallory's confidence in jumping from shelf to shelf would have worried Kai, but to Mallory it was something he could do and cared not for the consequences that may arise. Soon the shelves stopped their uniform assembly. Descending into height, these shelves decreased in height by one row with every step. The shelves led down to another section of the library. The stairs made up of shelves did not last for long though. After about 7 steps down the floor, made its return. The floor covered in papers scattered all over the floor, books ripped and destroyed. The wood on the shelves grew paler and the books lost their covers. They all looked like one large book contained in one shelf. Distracted by this new setting, the boy collided with a person. Sent back, he fell into his bottom and made contact with the person he bumped into. It was a tall figure, as tall as 8 feet tall. It wore a white robe and a red veil. The veil was decorated with white flowers that had a yellow center. The veil extended to its feet. The figure was barefoot, and the legs looked like they were burnt, and their appearance is the aftermath of it all. And between its arms the creature sat, looking at Mallory once again. "Is he your companion?" said the tall figure. Their voice was rather feminine in tone, but it had the same gravelly attribute that a man's voice would have. It sounded rather larger and wider, yet comforting, as it felt like it reached into Mallory's heart. "No, I was curious as to what it was, and followed it." "Do you know what it is?" said Mallory, while looking up at the figure, trying to find its eyes. "I see. This creature is what you call a cat. They are domestic animals. Think of them as pets," said the tall figure. "Do they speak?" said Mallory. "They sadly don't. But if they do, what would you want them to say?" said the tall figure. "How they have gotten so fast with how small their bodies are." "Do you aspire to be faster than them?" said the tall figure. "No, but I am intrigued, that's all." "What about you? What would you want them to say?" said Mallory. "I would love them to tell me about the people they meet. Such creatures are small and agile. They can be everywhere and anywhere," said the tall figure. "Are there many of them here?" said Mallory. "There is many of everything here. Here lies the depictions of what cannot be depicted. It's a place that challenges the limitations of one's mind," said the tall figure. Such as, said Mallory. "Such as if honey is the true companion of a freshly baked pancake," said the tall figure with a giggle. Though the information on the figure gave out was not of interest to anyone or of use, Mallory listened intently and expressed attentiveness towards the figure. "So, what is a boy of your age doing here?" "I came here with Kai. We came to get books for me to read," said Mallory. "Are you lost?" said the figure. "No, he's lost. I came here to find him and take him back to the theatre. He's been here for quite some time," said Mallory. "Is that truly your reasoning for coming here?" said the figure. No. "Young dear, lying is not very nice. You shouldn't lie when it comes to your desires, no matter how selfish they may be," said the figure. Water break. Sorry. Water break over. I'm not lying. I am withdrawing knowledge and misdirecting your attention. Aren't you a silly little boy? Said the figure as she giggled. The cat jumped down off from the figure's arms and onto the ground. It moved closer to Mallory, rubbing its head against his knee. Mallory looked at the cat and continued to do so, with an expression that one would see on a child discovering or experiencing something new. He gently placed his palm on the cat's head and brushed its head. Soft and warm were the sensations his palm felt. His fur was thinly textured, allowing his palms to feel each and every fibre of his fur as it brushed against him. What is your name? Said the figure. Mallory, he said. Do you not have a last name? Said the figure. I don't have one, said Mallory as he continued to rub the cat's head. Does Kai have a last name? Said the figure. Yes, he does. I heard it once, but never again after. He said something about being ashamed of it. I hope you find a last name one day. Names have power, and to have that power, or that part of you taken away, weakens your power, said the figure. Oh. Sorry. Do you have a family name? Said Mallory. I do, but I don't use it anymore. My name is... Oh God, why did I write it the way that I did? Okay, her name. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher her name. I wrote her name, keep that in mind, but I butchered it. I'm gonna butcher pronouncing it. I'm so sorry. It's I do, but I don't use it anymore. My name is Lapodestia. Say, I have an idea. Would you like to have my last name? Said the figure. Isn't a family name something personal? That is true, but I have no more use for mine. My son could use a brother one day. I've travelled far, getting further and further from him with every single step I take, said the figure. Are you not going to come to see your son again? I'm certain he misses you, said Mallory. I would, but I'm bound to this place, and I will never be free from it, said the figure. Now, I could take your son and bring him here, if you would like. If you can't leave, then I'm sure he will come here himself if he knows you're here, said Mallory. If only it were possible. If it were to be possible, but such is not the case. Never mind that. Would you take it? My last name, said Mallory. Yes, I would be happy to, said Mallory. My last name is Sangro, said the figure. My name is Mallory Sangro, said Mallory. I'm afraid that's not how it would be said. I'm afraid that's not how it would be said. Your name is Mallory de Sangro, said the figure. Mallory got up from the floor and puffed out his chest. He was happy about receiving a name. He felt like he belonged. He felt more like a nuisance when he was within the presence of Kai and the old man. They took care of him and were patient with him, but none of them took care and attention to what he wanted and what pleased him. To be able to have a family name made him feel complete. He wanted to have the same last name as Kai because he admired him so much, but his persistence was only met with vain. Remember, boy, that once you are to be given a name other than what I have given you, take that name and treasure it, said the figure. But I would like to remain with the name you and I share the same traits after all. I have flowers and so do you, said Mallory. The figure laughed softly and gracefully, brushes the flowers on her veil. These flowers are called chrysanthemum. My son commissioned a man to make me such an attire, but can I ask you of something, Mallory? Said the figure. Yes, you may. Come here and pick the book in front of me. Take out a bookmark on it, said the figure. Obediently, Mallory moved in closer and grabbed the book from the floor. In between the pages lay the bookmark decorated with silhouettes of a cat and a flower with 5 petals, one of which were red. Separating the cat and the flower were small little veins from the bottom passing through the veins, and a cat, a line extended up to what looked like the top of a cathedral ceiling, coloured in red, white, and black. I need to drink more water. God, I miss tea. Tea would be perfect for this. Let me read some of chat. Did we get a mummy girlfriend, tall librarian, pretty tall, pretty park, low hydration noises? Man, this person keeps strong, and I mean strong, mummy girlfriend. It's a kind of big guy. Dad recreated dad's guy. Actually, type the name in chat. I'll type it later in Discord. Man, Fumiyo, you wrote the perfect librarian MILF. You did really well in writing. Wait, the cat is the woman's pet. Familiar? Who knows? Perhaps she is. Shall we find out? So, with the bookmark being pulled out, the figure that stood before him disappears into thin air without a trace. Mallory looks over his shoulder and in front finds her not amidst the paper and the shelves. With the bookmark... Sorry, not that. The cat jumps onto Mallory's shoulder, surprising him briefly. The cat purrs and rubs its head on Mallory's cheeks. Looks like it's just us now, said Mallory. It started with cats. Now we're talking about a MILF. God damn it. Chat, but behave, will you? Closing the book in his hand, he stows it away with him next to the other book he picked up from earlier. Help me, whispered a voice. Mallory turns to face the voice but saw nothing within his line of sight. I must be imagining things, he said to himself. This has been a long chapter for today. Yeah, it's a long chapter, alright, mate. We're still going. I'm sorry if it's too long. If it's too long like these, I'll probably shorten them up. Okay, so from the corner of his eyes, he could see faint shadows running diagonally, running away at any given moment that they might be exposed. However, one of them was not fast enough. Mallory caught a glimpse of the figure playing tricks with him. It was humanoid with iron shackles on its arms that not much he saw, but the rest he could not make out. Perhaps he did not, wanting to jump into conclusions, he refrained from attempting to. From every corner of his eyes, he sees the shadows circling him, taunting him from both sides and from the top of the shelves. Help me, the voices whispered. Hold on a minute. I'm looking at chat. Book of poems. So this is the own book. Yeah. I wrote this book and I published it. Can we please not make the book known that I published it? Because I know people will try to find it. And if people found my book, they'll probably buy it. Please don't buy it. I beg of you. I would say more about cats and MILFs, but Fumi asked us to behave. True. Thank you, Beaumont. Thank you. All of you behave. Fan panic. Akito. No. Mallory sprints out holding onto the cat on his shoulder. He did this not out of fear, but out of study. He was taught by Kai that anyone that does not look human should not be associated with. The figures run behind him, never directly with him, moving from one side to the other in a cross-like pattern, whether it is to cause fear or to cause him to lose track of them. Either way, Mallory wanted to find out. He stopped in his tracks to survey his surroundings, the cat meowing at him, perhaps to urge him to move and let his curiosity behind. He knows of only ways to stop their movement. With all his might, he shouted. No horny, I'll say so. Exactly, no horny, only say so. Thank you, everyone. Hissing at them did nothing to stop them. Shouting. Where am I going? I'm not reading properly now. He shouted, "Who goes there?" said Mallory. His voice echoed through the library, reverting back to him. The shadows ran no more, yet they remained in their corners of his eyes, idly standing. Hissing at them did nothing to stop them. The whispers grew louder. "Help me, please, I beg you." The whisper grew clearer now than before. They sounded not of a creature. They sounded like a child. Children all asking for help, but their voices gave off a feeling that Mallory reacted to in a way he never thought of before. It was urgency. He felt the need to help, the need to be of service to these children. It was an unadulterated, unfiltered emotion of need. Every cell in his body compelled him to help these children. He looked at the corners, but the figures disappeared. He tried to follow it, but they remained in the corners, never wanting to be seen. Why hide if you need help? I want to help you, said Mallory. The children moved not an inch, but one of them reclined inward to the shelf. A book falls out, spreading itself open onto the floor. Mallory moved towards the book. The writings written on the pages were in a large font size. They occupied massive chunks of the page. The pages read as follows. There are many tales of these lesser beings. They certainly don't have an affinity with light nor an alignment for that matter. Why would such creatures whom gain nothing from us help us, bring back the very gods that banished them? Direct a palace, a labyrinth, a library, and other undiscovered monuments that they call time paradoxes. All the aforementioned are for the good of man, but not of their own. Their reputation grew amongst mankind, but they asked not for a pact nor a price. Simply handed them seemingly out of generosity, but why? End quote. Mallory picked up the book to skim over the pages. He finds pictures of a man with a beard and a woman in a dress as white as pearl. She held in her hands flowers tightly bonded together by a thin strap of rubber. A couple of pages after, he finds the woman cradling 2 children, smiling at the sight of her own offspring while gently touching the cradle. The pictures of the 2 children all grown up turning into boys, then more pictures of them as teenagers, and finally pictures of them all grown up. Mallory's thumb stops the page from moving forward. On the page he stopped, he found a picture of a man that looked familiar to him, a man that had always been by his side. It was Kai. It was Kai, with the same man from the previous pages, only here he wore a mask of gold and a robe of red. He closed the book and placed it back onto the shelf carefully. He turns his back against towards the whispers, only to find one of them in front of him. His eyes could not look at it. It felt like something was averting his gaze for him. No matter how hard he tried to look, his eyes would be pushed to the side. Seeing some reading and some movement in chat. Shush. Shh. No, justice is weaker than the horny. The horny is more powerful. The horny will prevail. No, shush now. You may say so. Unmeasurable power would say so. There would be no horny. It is delicate balance. True. Alright. No. Shh. Quiet, everyone. Quiet. Come on. I'll pet all of you. Little head pats. Shh. Come on. A bit of reading to be done. Relax. No fingers on the keyboard. Fingers should be on your teacups, on your food. Relaxing. Shush. Sorry. Alright. Here we are. Now. He closed the book. And placed it back onto the shelf carefully. He turns his back again towards the whispers, only to find one of them in front of him. His eyes could not look at it. It felt like something was averting his gaze for him. Oh yeah, I read this one. The only thing he could see was an arm stretched out with its hands open, fingers reaching out, begging for him to touch them and feel them. The cat was not pleased, hissing and meowing at it. Mallory slowly moved towards it and placed his hands against it. With a smooth yet dry hand, fingers longer and skinnier than any hand he has ever felt and or seen. They were cold, almost painful. Oh, and everyone gets head pats, as long as all of you behave. If you all behave, you all get head pats. Okay. So, the creature gently moves with Mallory, dragging him forward. The shackles on his arms swung, creating noises that echoed through the library, seemingly louder than the taps of his shoe. It didn't take long until they came face to face to a massive door. It had a myriad of locks of every kind. Whatever was beyond that door was not meant to be seen. It was to preserve something from the public eye. The creature placed its hand on the door, and slowly the locks unlocked themselves, one by one, almost like a timer, ticking down with each one falling louder and louder. Okay. Thank you. At the fall of the last lock, the door gently cracks. The creature moves alongside it, passing through the small opening, pulling gently on Mallory. Moving sideways to fit through, Mallory stumbles upon a sight that appalled him. A massive dimly lit room filled to the brim from each side with a small bed, beds neatly packed together from side to side, with enough room for whoever it was to get up to be able to move between them. Small mattresses, rusty metal bed frames with medical IVs on each side. These beds and their owners were of similar appearance to what little he saw of the creature that pulled him into this room, but in some ways they were different. Some of the creatures still had their human head with them, some deformities, the side of their head blown up like a balloon, with the skin around it still freshly red, pulsating. There were creatures whom had both of their sides enlarged and their skin already purple with a tint of black, and their eyes are nowhere to be seen, covered by skin, chin, and jaw relatively the same size as a human, but teeth either missing, sparingly used, or sharp. All of them wore hospital gowns, and the shackles on their wrist was what bounded them to the headrest of their beds. They were all silent, never speaking a word, heavily breathing and in pain. Rustling in their beds, drooling uncontrollably. They were not monsters, they were not creatures. They looked more like prisoners. Mallory moved closer to one of the beds to get a closer look at the IV bag. It contained what looked like white fluid. It was heavy and thick in consistency. It was pumped straight into the heads of these creatures. Whatever it is that was inside the IV bag was the cause for their pain. One of the creatures on the bed turned its head towards Mallory. The singular eye it had cried at the sight of Mallory. Around the eye sockets it looked like red, like the skin around it was about to close the creature's eyes shut. He heard the same whisper coming from the mouth of the creature on the bed. "Help us." Even though he was this close, the whisper was quieter, losing its power or its will to lay these words down. "Why did you bring me here?" said Mallory. The creature points at the end of the room. A large mechanical contraption resides, and had the appearance of a mug with the added bolts on the top and bottom, the middle of it hollowed out, replaced with a glass to see the fluid much clearer. Submerged in this white fluid was another creature, this time with a male human body. Only that part was proven to be human. From his neck up was a cow. He had a cow's head for his own. Its eyes were closed, not even twitching or moving any part of its body. It continued being submerged, almost as if it was bathing in luxury. Of the creatures in this room, Mallory thought to himself that this creature had an easier time than any of the others. From behind him, a scream could be heard. It was thin yet sharp, piercing his eardrums. It sounded of a child in pain, and as Mallory turned around, he saw the creature that took him there, laying on the floor, bleeding. Standing above the body was a woman. She wore a long black dress, ripped and torn from the bottom, but well maintained everywhere else. She had white fabric lining as highlights to outline her physique, red hair extending to her elbows. She wore an empire bonnet with withering flowers on the side. "It seems boys can't keep their business to themselves anymore," said a familiar voice. Their eyes met. A green emerald of color comes into view, freckles scattered all over her cheeks. "Lilith?" said Mallory. She steps onto the body as she moved closer to him. She walked confidently and showed no sign of being worn out from killing. "You haven't touched anything, have you?" said Lilith. "No," said Mallory. She moves around, tending to the creature on their beds. The others started to tremble, not out of pain but fear. The sound of metal clanking on the stone floor came from every direction, but Lilith seemed unbothered by it. "Are they sick?" said Mallory. She turns towards him. "Sick? Oh no, dear me. They are perfectly fine. If anything, I have engineered them to be well," said Lilith. Lilith placed her hands on one of them, gently caressing the temple of its head. The creature, being caressed, shakes violently, attempting to escape the shackles that held him to the bed. Fingers moving around, having a feel. She stopped moving them at the center of the head. Slowly the fingers sunk into the skull. With every centimeter that penetrates it, the whispers got louder. No, they were not whispers. They were never whispering. It was the sound of children defeated. They have lost their energy with their minds operating on survival in mind, but this resounding, dense volume is them. It's the sound of children in pain. A sign of struggle could be seen on Lilith's face as she attempts to pull something out. Her arm inserted elbow deep attempts to extract an object from inside of it. She smiles upon making contact with the object. Quickly, in a rush, she pulls her arm away from the skull, killing the creature in the process. As for the item she extracted, it was a blue book. She skims through the pages and then closes it. The screams of pain have subsided. The whispers returned, asking for help in the same tone as when he first heard it. With the book in hand, Lilith moves on to the next creature, applying the same procedure she does to this to two more. Along the procedure, she turned over to Mallory and asked, "They were ready to harvest." "I couldn't resist the temptation," said Lilith. Water break. Thank you. Mallory stood there, idly watching as she does what she pleases. He did not know what to do, not because he was scared, but it was due to his lack of it. He never encountered such a situation, nor was he taught what to do in one. "Fascinating," said Lilith with a smile on her face. She never saw someone as fearless as Mallory. No matter the reason to it, such fearlessness or lack of fear was new to her. Okay, hold on. Let me read chat a little bit, sorry. "This would make an interesting manga, gory and brutal, but interesting. Until when are we supposed to behave, though?" We are to behave until I am done with the chapter, which is the only chapter. I'll have a bit of talking with everyone, a little bit of catching up. So, yeah. Don't worry. I'll have you all chat. But you're very well behaved. Thank you. I'm very proud of all of you. Head pats all around. Pat, 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 pat. Okay. Let's get this done. She stacked 2 books she harvests on top of each other, pushing it against her chest. She walks to Mallory, inspecting him from head to toe. Not even shaking. No sweat, not a single sign of being uncomfortable. "What an interesting specimen of man," said Lilith. "I was brought here, led by those whispers." She looks behind her. "You mean of these children?" "Yes. They begged for aid. They wanted help and screamed for it when you took these books out of the 2 of them," said Mallory. "Is that so?" she said. She gave Mallory a look under her eyelids. She moved towards the mechanism at the end of the room, placing her hands onto one of the valves. She turned and turned. The creatures from the bed had their spines bent outwards, almost as if they were attempting to break free. The pulsating sacs of fluid continued to grow and change in color. Veins now larger, looking like they were about to blow up, they were kicked into overdrive. "What are you doing to them?" Mallory said, calmly. Didn't read that proper. "Disciplining. If you don't discipline your children, they will rebel," Lilith said. Their screams grew only larger, but the once cries of help to anyone that heed their call now was aimed towards one person in the room. "Mummy, please help me, please," said the children. Mallory experiences that urge again, that unexplainable need to serve those children. Driven by impulse, he moves to Lilith and stops her hand from turning the gaze. "Stop, I beg of you. There's no need to do what you are doing to them," said Mallory. "You feel sympathy to these creatures, I take it?" said Lilith. "I don't know what it is that I feel. In fact, I've only known about excitement. But please, if there's anything I can do to help, I will," said Mallory. Earth drops her hand from the gear and composes herself in front of Mallory. With a cunning expression, she proposes her scheme that was asked once before. "Bind yourself to me, then, not of gold, but of silver," said Lilith. "Why?" Mallory asked, confused at her proposal. "I've slept with many men, betrayed the one made with me. Lords and gods all know of me, even among men. A blank slate such as you is perfect, for no woman as I deserves gold," said Lilith. "Will you let them go, once I silver you?" said Mallory. "Nature is a funny thing to overcome, my dear boy. I cannot let go of it. It must stay. Then perhaps I can lay you to rest." Those were Mallory's last words, as he stabs Lilith in the gut. With him, he carried a small pocket knife that Kai ordered him to keep and polish, to use whenever anyone but them makes a move on him. He used it out of fear. Coughing blood and bleeding from her gut, she looked at her injury and then to her killer. Rather than anger and lash, he was met with a smile. She placed her forehead against his, whispering, "If only I were a girl such as your people, I would have lived a life, maybe even perhaps alongside you. What will you do with my children now that they are free?" Said Lilith. "I will free them and let them go," said Mallory. "If you do that, this library will fall and crumble. With it, the fire of man will fade, and the lords you so admire will fall," said Lilith, coughing blood onto his clothes. But then she continued, "If that is what you desire, let me help you." A sudden wave of memories and information flooded the mind of Mallory. Knowledge of the past, knowledge of the current affairs, and the cost of the paradoxes. Time and time again he was shown the cost of war and what knowledge would have done to save them. His head feeling like it was hit by a blunt object, his crying in pain, but he endured it as much as he could. His body unable to continue, he loses balance only to be caught back onto his feet by Lilith, wrapping her arm around his waist. "There now, young king. You have children to save. My cries of help cannot be for nothing," said Lilith. He sees a girl crying, being held down in place. An egg, a book written in it, the following. And I quote, "The betrayal of the actors in the fall of Arusa will come when a lonely boy that heads north finds home at the cost of his life." "I know what I have to do now," said Mallory, as Lilith's arms let go of his waist. "Good. I have chosen the right man," she said as she fell onto his shoulders, putting her entire weight on him. Mallory tried to support her back onto her feet, but he felt no breath on his shoulder anymore, no warmth. He laid her down on one of the beds and began to unshackle all of her children. One after the other, some ran to the door, some limped, others were long gone, while a select few wanted to stay. He urged them to leave, but one remained. "What can I do for you, fellow?" said Mallory. The child, with no eyes or resemblance to a human, extends his hand to touch his, to shake a hand as a token of gratitude, or perhaps to feel warmth other than his mother. After he shook his hands with the child, the creature leaves, closing the door behind him. Mallory faced the mechanism with a knife in hand, climbing it and unscrewing the lid, covering the container. He pulled the human-faced cow out and laid it on the floor. With his knife, he cuts just about enough to eat, but not too much to kill it. Working quickly, he placed the human cow back to its container and ate the meat from it. Still in a rush, he injects himself with a medical IV into his neck. The taste and odor of the meat coated his tongue. It was accompanied by the shock caused by the quick reaction of the fluids reacting in his body. Shaken violently and foaming from his mouth, Mallory's eyes rolled to the back of his skull. Screams echoed and covered the entire room, and his body was ripped and repurposed to fit the role that he decided to play. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our chapter, and as well the end of basically today's story. Good heavens, it's an hour and 36 minutes. Good God, yes, you may now speak. You don't need to behave anymore. Thank you for behaving. You've all been very well. Good job, everyone. Pat, 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 pat. We all just want advice, basically. Yeah. I really, really care. Silver has a specific meaning. Oh, yes. It was explained, I think, in chapter 3. I'm not sure. But in case it wasn't, I'll explain it. So, to silver someone is to get married to someone for the intention of provocity, aka for sex, for sex, for indulgence, flesh, for sin. It's almost like prostitution, but with a label. Golding, or to gold a woman, is to marry a woman out of love, out of value, out of true care. That's what silvering in love means. It's what those two things mean. I will say though, I've been holding my piss because I wanted to finish the book for all of you. So if you don't mind, I would take a little piss. I'll be very quick, I promise. Holy, that was a chapter. Lilith was a name that just tingled. Yes, it was one of those names that tingled. So be right back for a second. I'm going to piss. and I'll rant a little bit more before I set you free for your day. Alright? Thank you. Give me a second. Hold on. Okay, hi. Sorry, I'm back. Bathroom was great. Yum, silver sinner's substance, basically. So, yes, that is going to be the end of today's chapter. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It was longer than usual. I didn't think it would be this long. I was looking through like the pages and I said, how many chapters am I going to do today? And when I looked, it turns out that we have more chapters. Well, this is longer. So hopefully in the future I might lessen how long a chapter is if it's too long. But for now, my parting words for you, before I let you all leave, is the following. I'm proud of all of you. Very, very proud of all of you. Thank you everyone for your hard work. Thank you everyone for your, thank you everyone for your hard work, for your continued hard work at either your actual part-time job, at school, when doing homework, or just taking care of yourself. Please eat your food, take care of yourself, drink water, and just be safe, honestly. Just be safe for me. Sleep well as well. Okay? I worry about some of you a lot. Please sleep well. Okay? Fumi, that was so good. I was telling but the more I listened, I totally forgot that you were reading from your own writing. It is written so well that your storytelling is your name. Thank you. Giving away more head pats for behaving. Yes, I shall. I'll be giving away everyone. Everyone gets a head pat. Everyone gets a head pat. Bertamon gets a head pat. Soul gets a head pat. Kiwi gets a head pat. Shades get a head pat. Trace gets a head pat. Prota gets a head pat. Onichan gets a head pat. Who else was here? Sero gets a head pat. Of course, you get a head pat, Sero. Let's see, who else? T, you get a head pat. Obviously, Emmy, you get a head pat. Azina, if she's still here, I think she might be. You get a head pat as well. All of you get a head pat. I'm sorry if I don't mention you or if I lagged out my mind. Really enjoyed it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, Kiwi, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry that you came a bit late. Maybe next time. Okay, when was this written? This is crazily good. This was written in the summer of 2019. I wrote this book to be published. So, well, the book is published, but please don't find it. Please don't buy it. I'll be reading it for you. So, yeah. But yes, regardless of it all, again, thank you everyone for your time and everything. Oh, you just woke up. Okay. You know what? Just so you feel like you didn't, come here for nothing, I will lovingly get you a poem. I will get you a poem right now to read. Last poem. How about that? How about a parting poem? A little parting poem for you. I don't want you to feel like you came empty-handed. Here we are. Let's see. Okay, this you go. Here we are. I have a lovely little poem to to feel like you haven't just came here for no reason. Okay, don't worry, Kiwi, I got you. You're a true author if you're asking that people not seek out your book. Yeah, please don't seek out my book. I have it for you. Okay, so let's go. Let's read you a little poem. Well, it's not really little now, is it? Poem for you, Kiwi. So this is my parting poem. After this, I will leave. So, it's all, it's time. Let's go. Another bad day comes to you, with a colossal wall in view. You raise your head to look at the very top, yet you find that it grows non-stop. Bricks over bricks standing firm and tall. To you it seems like there's no forward but this wall. At first you hesitated, doubting your own strength, rationally and irrationally confirming its length. This obstacle seems impossible, one you cannot climb, no matter your determination, technique, or time. You tell yourself that you won't make it, that there's no point in trying. You tell yourself that you should focus on thinking, on turning this blockade into your new home. Here the light is blocked by the wall, what's beyond is unknown. The anxiety of the road ahead, the future has grown. There's no forward, there's no backwards, you're stuck. One massive obstacle between you and you're out of luck. But have you forgotten what you've done? Look behind you and you'll see the demons you've outrun. On the floor scattered are brick blocks showing you've won. You smashed and broken through every wall in front of you. You have the talent, you have the ability, you have the personality to reshape reality. Your dream of making an impact or a legacy is admirable. All that you need, everything, is not detestable. You have the determination, and you've put in the effort, all that pain and discomfort. And I know how hard it's been, but look at what you could do. Look at your achievements, no matter how little or big they are to you. Stand up, little soldier, and face this wall with pride. Climb it or break it, discover what's behind. And if you can't climb or break it, remember who you are. You are a bunny who can jump so high. And once you've made it past that wall, I'll be there to greet you with a hi. Pet your head and remind you of the world and there's many different tips. Brush your hair deeply with my fingertips. I'll pull your eyes closer to mine and tell you that you've done a good job just like every single time. Thank you for your continued hard work. You did very well today, just like you did yesterday and every other day. I believe in you, and I know that you can do the impossible. There you go. That's my parting. My parting poem. I hope that satisfied you, Kiwi. I'm so sorry that you couldn't come earlier on. It's fine, though. Did you sleep well? If you slept well, that's good. Good. Sleeping is great. If you slept well, then I'm very happy. Yeah, that will be my last poem. This is the end of the stream. I've taken quite a lot of your time. You could be starting your day right now, and here I am taking up a lot about it. You had no idea how much I needed that. Oh, Kiwi. Well, I'm glad to provide some sort of comfort, or at least, some sort of how can I say this? Affirmation? Right, so thank you everyone for coming to watch. Thank you everyone for, laying around with me comfortably in the blankets, sipping your tea and everything. My name has been Fumiyo-kun. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend my time with all of you and to comfort you. Please, please everyone, do please take care of yourself, drink your water, wear your seatbelts, remember to eat food. My name has been Fumiyo-kun. Konbanwa, oyasumi, ohayo gozaimasu. Bye bye. I love all of you. Bye 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 bye. Bye, be safe. Be safe, okay? Bye.